way back in 1796. It was these healing waters that first attracted visitors to Bedford Springs. Then a small hotel started, followed by a grand hotel, and then an even grander recapturing of the setting here by the Omni Bedford Springs Resort Hotel. It is one of the grand historic hotels in all of America, accompanied by a fantastic 18-hole golf course that matches the history of this entire property. In this episode of The Traveling Golfer, we not only will take you inside the Grand Hotel and throughout the course, but will take you along on a culinary voyage we promise you will never forget. Once again, courtesy of The Traveling Golfer.
This lager comes from a place that's been brewing beer for longer than anyone else in America, where men and women have crafted amber gold in the caves below since before refrigeration. It comes from Yuengling, America's oldest brewery, and brings with it all the know-how that doing a thing well for nearly 200 years affords. Yuengling Traditional Lager. Respect. It's earned.
Everybody has their favorite spot on a golf course. This is hole number 6, the favorite spot of Ron Leparati, Director of Golf at Bedford Springs. Grew up in Bucks County, Pennsylvania, but found a new home in Bedford even before the course opened. And Ron, I understand why.
It's a special place. It was actually the 3rd hole accredited to Donald Ross here. This picturesque hole really captures the Allegheny Mountains. It really is a museum for golf course architecture here, and it really is a perfect tribute to Donald Ross. 1895, the golf course was designed by Spencer Odom out of Baltimore, Maryland. He designed 18 holes, which was considered to be a massive 6,000-yard layout in 1895. And then in 1912, A.W. Tillinghast came in and he took the golf course from 18 holes down to 9 holes. And while he was here, he designed hole number 14, which is our Tiny Tim hole. And he was so fond of that hole that he duplicated it over 100 times around the world. Then in 1923, Donald Ross came in and said, we've got a special property here. So he implemented 3 holes from the 1895 design, 4 holes from A.W. Tillinghast's 1912 design, and he put in 11 holes of his own to get us to 18 holes.
There was a 4th element to the design, and that took place in the 21st century.
That's exactly right. In late 2005, Ron Force and his partner Jim Nagel came in. They scoured the property. They had some blueprints. They had some pictures. They went off with some Ross-themed designs from that era of 1923, and they put the golf course back together. And it's a special place.
Proper renovation is so key, and I would put Ron Force's work right here at Bedford up with any of them. Number 6 is your favorite hole in the course, and I understand that it's such a peaceful, serene setting here. But there are a number of other holes that have special characteristics to them, and I'd like you to go through a couple of them now.
Absolutely. Hole number 1 is your typical Donald Ross first hole. 300-yard par 4. You don't need to hit driver. You can hit a middle tiered iron and then hit a wedge into the green. It's a very favorable hole. It starts with a handshake, and you're off and running from there. Hole number 2, which is named for Spencer Odom. That hole actually goes back to the 1895 design. It's never been changed in the 122 years, and that's a wonderful hole in the golf course.
Number 4, one of the most talked about holes at Bedford Springs, the Volcano. 202 yards from the Tillinghast tees, and there are 2 more sets of tees that make it even longer. And then a severely elevated green. This is the ultimate par 3 challenge. Before anybody thinks that this is by any stretch of the imagination a short golf course, there are a couple holes that are long and longer.
That's exactly right. Hole number 13, aptly named Long, is a 600-yard par 5. Seems to always be playing into the wind, and it's definitely a 3-shot par 5. Number 14, Tiny Tim, which is our signature hole. I can't leave that one out. Short par 3 down the hill with a little water. hazard. It's a fun golf course, and that's a great hole as well.
Quite a number of bunkers all around the green there. Pretty daunting feature of the hole itself.
Not only the bunkers, but you have the mini Alps, that little chocolate drops, if you will, that protect the green as well.
The mountains at Bedford Springs are a devilish obstacle, and the fescue on top of them makes it even more difficult. You may be able to hit it out, but not very far.
Ironically, our 16th hole, which is also a par 5 coming down the final stretch, was longer in 1895 at over 600 yards than it is today.
Number 17, Ronnie, 165-yard par 3 from the Ross Tees, a classic Redan green, a French military term meaning attack from the right side.
Some short par 3s, but again, I go back to the words charm and character on the golf course.
The golf course in general plays longer than the yardage. The course is usually a little bit on the soft side because it sits in a valley. The fairways are so lush you don't get a lot of roll, and a lot of the greens are elevated, so take that yardage and add 10%.
Yeah, and it's a little skewed because we have 5 par 5s, we have 5 par 3s, and we have 8 par 4s. So the yardage may seem a little skewed at 67, 85, but we've got water that meanders through the golf course, which adds to the character of the golf course. The good news about our golf course is no tricks out there. It's all in front of you, no surprises, no false fronts. It's a true tribute to the great architect of Ross and Tillinghast.
I think the elements of the holes are extremely fair, but it is a difficult golf course. I mean, we're talking a rating of 74.3 from the tips.
Mm-hmm.
That's up there with the toughest in the entire region, 140 sloped, and even from the more forward tees, the slope's 136. So you're talking about a course that is going to challenge the players. They got to think their way around.
They absolutely do, and you know, for some of our shorter holes, hole number 8 comes to mind. It's kind of a postage stamp green because you're supposed to be hitting a short iron into that green. So I think Ross and Tillinghast knew what they were doing when they laid out the golf course. If it's a long hole, you get a generous green. If you're going to play a short hole, it's going to be a smaller green. But they knew that 100 years ago.
They call him director of golf. I call him the ultimate tour guide. That was a great description of this amazing golf course, ranked annually among the best that is available for everyone to play in the state of Pennsylvania. Ron, you talked about Tiny Tim, number 14, 129 yards from the Ross Tees. Really is a little tricky devil.
Exotic's fairway woods are legendary in their class for distance dominance, and a new material advantage takes the new EX10 fairways to new heights in design innovation. The EX10 features a re-engineered wraparound cup face design from an advanced Japanese high-strength steel. The cup face is triple forged into shape. This new face design also features variable face technology for massive distance even on off-center impact. The sole speed channel near the face increases the rebound effect on shots struck lower on the face and expands into 4 air channels on the sole for faster club speed from the fairway or the rough. The redesigned slipstream sole is lower to the ground to improve leading edge contact with the turf, reducing shots hit thin. This new thinner forged face saves weight that is shifted to the rear sole in the form of a 10-gram screw. The new, more sloping crown improves aerodynamics and also shifts weight lower in the rear of the sole. The EX10 features 3 premium high-performance stock shaft options that include the Aldila Rogue MAX series, the graphite design Tour AD50, and Mitsubishi's Basara E series. Exotic's EX10, a material advantage.
rocking chairs on the veranda at Bedford Springs, one of my favorite activities, and so too for so many other people. To tell us about it, we've got John Hess, the Director of Sales and Marketing. John, the traveling golfer, is so happy that we found Bedford Springs.
This is a place that we love to call home. We've been in existence for 220 years. There was a local doctor in Bedford in the late 1700s that discovered that the Native Americans came about a mile south of Fort Bedford to take it from the springs. And they believed it had medicinal value to them, and he began bringing his patients here. It started out as a 24-room inn called the Stone House Inn. There was stone walls that were 3 feet thick because that was the construction of that time period. And as we got later into the 1800s and about the 1820s, they needed more lodging than what that inn could offer.
It has now grown into a great Omni resort, which had a rebirth in the early part of this century. How many rooms now?
We are 216 hotel rooms. About 130 of those are in the original historic wing, and then the remaining 80 rooms are in the spa wing, which is all new construction that was completed in 2007. The resort went through many different phases through the 1900s. Towards the end of World War II, the facility became an internment camp for the Japanese diplomats. After the war ended, return to resorts came back into fashion, and it went on as a hotel as it had been before. In 1985, we were registered as a National Historic Registry, and then in 1986, the property closed. And the only thing that remained of that property from 1986 until 2007 was the golf course. We continuously offered golf to locals in the community, and they came to appreciate it. In 1998, some investors decided that they really wanted to restore this property back to its glory. They renovated the entire property and created this beauty that we have today.
When you walk into the main lobby, you can immediately feel the history, feel the tradition that was there. And over the years, obviously had so many prominent Americans staying here, even the presidents.
Most notably, President James Buchanan called this his summer White House.
The only Pennsylvanian who became president.
We've also had visits from Ronald Reagan, Dwight Eisenhower, George W. Bush actually played golf in 2012 here.
Some people thinking of coming to such a historic, traditional resort like Bedford Springs might not think about bringing one particular piece of equipment, but bringing your swimsuit is mandatory when you come here.
We have one of the oldest indoor pools in the nation. Naturally spring fed, still has the original tile work throughout. We also have an outdoor pool that was built in conjunction with the renovation. It's a beautiful, beautiful setting, the ultimate place to relax.
It's such a sprawling facility. It goes the entire length of this hillside along there and gives a wonderful view of the area.
You immediately feel a sense of relaxation. And our meeting space speaks to that as well.
Meeting rooms and ballrooms that are magnificent.
There's one building, the Colonnade building, that was built in the 1840s. It has a grand staircase that goes to every floor. Everything was built with lots of windows, and we have skylights in that area that provide natural lighting. But we've got about 20,000 square feet of meeting space. The focal point of that is our Colonnade Ballroom. It's a beautiful, very regal room. And then Constitution Hall is kind of a pre-function area.
Maybe the historical significance not around so much anymore as it's for the many weddings here at the Omni Bedford Resort. Bill Leadholm, General Manager. And Bill, the tradition, the history has been preserved so well, but in a modern, elegant setting.
This is a very huge wedding destination resort. We'll do somewhere between 75 and 100 weddings each year.
Wow.
and many of them are right here in Constitution Hall. We also excel at the outdoor weddings. Our grounds are just so phenomenal.
Well, we know about the Wedding Grotto across the street from the hotel.
Wedding Grotto with the waterfall right next door.
Of course, the gazebo over there, which is attached to the bridge, comes across the street. It really is a wonderful setting.
Our strongest customer market right now is still the Pittsburgh area, but we see a tremendous increase every year from the East Coast. It's somewhat unfortunate. We lost about 20 years of our life when we were closed, but we get a tremendous amount of feedback from guests who say their grandparents came here, or they've been in the area for all their lives, and it's so great to see such a beautiful grande dame of a building.
Part of that restoration is that amazing golf course.
Oh yeah.
And you see that right from the back patio of the new clubhouse. I have to think that this particular property, Omni Bedford Springs Resort, is actually a 4-season resort. Archery is one of the favorite activities on the front lawn at Bedford Springs. They have classes for the beginners, but for us advanced marksmen, all you need is a willing subject. Not every day at Bedford Springs is a sunny day. Best place to go when a few raindrops fall? The Springs Eternal Spa. We have spa director Stephanie Cardwell.
Yes.
And you have a place that sort of speaks to the whole ambiance here, relaxation.
A lot of our treatments are using our mineral water that actually comes from the Eternal Spring here on property. We have 15 treatment rooms here offering a variety of services. So we have massages, we have facials, body treatments, hair, nails, makeup, you name it. We actually have a line that's called Make Sense, and they actually use local cucumber and honeysuckle from Lancaster, and they make that for our spa only.
One of the areas I really liked was the relaxation room.
Absolutely. You can come and you can stay as long as you like, really. We have a lot of guests that will come in at 8 a.m. and they'll stay here until 8 o'clock at night. If you book a service with us, that relaxation lounge, our entire Bedford bath ritual, all of that is available to you.
I don't know of many places that can rival the culinary experience. And you have a lot of different venues for that culinary experience.
We try to make sure that we have something that is going to appeal to all tastes. So we have casual restaurants. We have the Tavern, which is a very historic feeling. It's been converted to a multi-level bar/restaurant. It has an outdoor area with a fire pit. Adjacent to that, we have our fine dining restaurant. It's our signature steak and chop house, the 1796 run. The Crystal Dining Room at one point in time was actually used as the ballroom. In addition to the Crystal Room, and actually it's within the same space, we have the Pink Room, which is a private dining room that can seat about 20-25 people. We do our afternoon teas in that space. We completed the construction of our new clubhouse, and we opened up a restaurant in honor of A.W. Tillinghast called Tilly's. Has its own gas fire pit, nice patio out back, and it has some stunning views of the golf course.
You really do have an experience here. It's not just a term that people use.
We have a space that was built. It's called the Chef's Table, and it was originally built to be used for private functions only. But we made a decision to take that space and utilize it as a restaurant. So every Friday and Saturday night, you can make reservations to dine at the Chef's Table.
We're going to start off today with a little amuse-bouche. We take 16 guests, what we can seat, and we do a prefix menu where we can have a lot of fun with it, do some different things, focus on some specials down in the restaurants, and then we pair it with 5 different beverage pairings, wine, and we do some mixed greens. 6 food courses and 5 beverage pairings.
Right, see, the mind was stuck on the beverage once again. Total experience at the Chef's Table, all right in the hub. A large part of that culinary experience is their farm to table program. The man behind it, Lester Wallach, the grounds manager and the main farmer here at Bedford Springs.
We have a very small sampling here of some of what we grow. We have some chives, some Italian basil, and some curly parsley. We have our green zucchini and yellow squash and a few of our banana peppers. We have a very wide variety of things growing out in our chef's garden out behind the hotel, however. The executive chef came up to me and said, "Lester, we need an herb garden. Can you grow an herb garden?" And I thought, never grown herbs, but I'll give it a shot. So we built an herb garden down in a section of our grounds down there. And a couple of years later, he said, "We need a vegetable garden." So we started a small vegetable garden. Never did that well for us. So we actually went into the woods, took some trees down, took stumps out, brought some soil in, and away we went.
A number of different gardens, but it adds up to a considerable amount of space, almost 2 acres.
And it's going to continue to grow.
The sad part about this magnificent 18th hole at Bedford Springs is it signifies the end of a round of golf on one of the great historic golf courses in America. Whether it be business, pleasure, or just to play golf, Bedford Springs is a bucket list place for every golfer in America. And as always, on The Traveling Golfer, we hope to see you somewhere else along the trail.
Tony Leodora's golf wardrobe, courtesy of Antigua, the leader in modern golf apparel.
Tour Edge is the official equipment sponsor of The Traveling Golfer.